Thank you, everybody. We're doing SDVoE Outside the Box. And what this primarily is about is products that go outside the normal reference designs, where it's companies that have done something more with the technology that add to the value of an SDVoE environment. So, baseline SDVoE functionality. One of the baseline things about SDVoE is most everybody has an encoder or a decoder. We're all using 10 gig cat or fiber. Still feeding back. HDMI 4K 6444 video, 8-channel audio that we can send for surround sound or multi-channel distribution. We can do down mixing, 2-channel line outputs with the down mixing, 1 gig Ethernet, 232, IR, CEC, and USB 2.0 is a common theme across all these platforms. In addition to doing the multi-viewing, previewing capabilities, which they now introduced at the show, seamless switching, video wall capabilities. So these are all common functionalities of an SDVoE world. However, so what's outside the box? So it's products that go beyond the typical box design of what the normal manufacturer is doing, and that's the whole point of this presentation. How are people standing out in what they're doing that adds an even additional value to the SDVoE architecture? So this is what we're going to do, and then at the end of it, we're going to discuss where's the technology actually going. So first went alphabetical order, and it just so happens Aurora with the A comes first. What a coincidence, and that's my company. So what we've done different from the normal standard SDVoE is we've done a transceiver. So one of the reasons why we created the transceiver, and we did this actually over 4 or 5 years ago, the concept of it. And the reason why we did this is because we wanted to show that do things with a single SKU. So that was the whole point about it. And it wasn't just about having a single SKU for when you're doing stock disproportions, but it was for serviceability. To be able to take an encoder, make it into a decoder, swap out product. Or in the case of our wall plates, if you have 2 wall plates in a room, you can make one an encoder, one a decoder, take a rollabout card, use it as cable extenders and so on. So there's an actual added value usage to when you're doing transceiving technology. So it has a lot of value to it. We're also the first company to ever do 10 gig PoE. And we didn't just do 10 gig PoE, we did it on the 1 gig too. And some people would say, well, it's a 10 gig product, why would you do PoE on the 1 gig? When you're doing fiber, sometimes when you want to remote power fiber a product, we can actually use the 1 gig port to send a cat just for the simplicity of giving the power remotely as well. Comes in very handy, or for making it clean inside the rack where you can use a PoE injector and power all the units through a PoE injector without actually having to use individual wall supplies. So it makes the installation cleaner inside the rack. We also threw an audio DSP into it. So we could do actually parametric EQing, mixing, ducking, and other advanced features. This really gets used very well when you bring the Dante into the mix here, because we could take Dante from other boxes, bring them into a particular box, mix them, and resend them back out. So it's not just about having 8 channels for stereo, for surround sound, but it's for taking mono or stereo from other devices and bringing them in and then redistributing back out again. Very powerful feature, only company that has it. Reversible USB. So instead of having to normally, a lot of companies, what they do is they'll say on the transmitter side, you have to put the PC there, and on the receiver side, you have to put the device there. We allow you to control which direction it's actually flowing in. So that's another thing that we started doing actually years ago. Routing with host name IP. We've done things that go outside even the box. We've gone into the software itself where we've wrote wrappers, where we can actually do routes through the IP address and the host names rather than just the MAC addresses, which gives us a very ease of service, and it makes it a lot easier for when you replace products in that respect. We can also do asynchronous 232 and IR, where we created independent ports per product for actually targeting it as a virtual COM port. So instead of encapsulating the 232 or the IR and then de-encapsulating it when you send it to the local devices, we can actually use it as a virtual COM port and tunnel it through. So if you're using a control system like a Crestron, an AMX, or an Extron, you can take a macro that's been written years ago, and then just instead of sending it to a 232 port, you send it to the telnet port, and it comes right out the end with no encapsulating or de-encapsulating, and it becomes a 2-way tunnel without even polling it. So it makes it very easy. So we actually don't need macros for control systems because of that. So very handy feature. And we secured it end-to-end. So even the server itself, we've added in socket connections instead of just doing plain old telnet. So we could do a secured connection through it that way as well. So another manufacturer that we're going to be talking about here. So it's not just about Aurora products. This is about everybody who I felt did something that went beyond and thought outside the box. But Christie Microtiles, they are one of the first companies to actually put the SDVoE inside a display product. So that in itself deserves a lot of attention. So it's one thing to be boxes, it's another thing to actually start integrating it inside the display products. And they've done it with their microtile systems, and they're also doing it now with their DLP projectors as well. So this is probably going to be the start of a trend that you'll see. If I ever do this presentation again, you're not going to steal the manufacturers because they're the first to do it, so they get the innovation on that one. So IDK, they did something interesting here that I give them credit for, which is they're doing Dante in a centralized format. So whereas we're doing a decentralized approach, they're doing a centralized approach where it will allow the breakaway switching capabilities of the SDVoE to route it into their box, assign it to a Dante channel, and then to obviously redistribute it back out through a Dante. Another methodology of doing it, but it's the first of its kind where it's an audio-specific product into the SDVoE environment, and this is how you can also bring SDVoE technology into Dante and SDVoE into there with this bridge. So PureLink. So what was most innovative about this is not so much the sub-baselines of it, but the durability of it. They made a fully sealed enclosure that's designed to be dropped, abused, kicked around by UPS if you want, since they seem to not treat packages nicely. But you get the point. It's made for staging, rental, and to be very durable. It has no fans in it, and it has, as you can see, Nutrix connectors for plugging in for staging events and things of that nature where you need that extra durability. So while it is a large product, it's large for a reason. It's to handle the heat without the fan. It's because it's a sealed unit, and it's designed to be durable. So this is for harsh environments, and they did a pretty good job on it from what you can see here from the design, and they got their product over there as well for viewing, and I think over here too. So Savant. So what they did was they took another approach, which was a card cage style approach on here. So theirs has 8 HDMI inputs, and they also have 8 SFPs. So in this particular case, they just simply more or less made it more rack mountable in a card format. Just a different approach is why it's in this category for innovation, is because no one else has done it yet, where they pretty much did something with an integrated power supply to do multi-channel within a single system as opposed to a single box type design. So that's the Savant product. So Jan, they did the world's first PCI capture card. Got to give them credit for it. So in this one, this card goes inside a PC, have SDVoE inside the network, and it will actually route it into it, and it will actually capture the signals, provided they're obviously not HDCP, but it will actually do it. It will be announced at the show, from what I understand, and there'll be more information. Unfortunately, I did not have a lot of information on all its capabilities, other than the fact that they're doing it. So I encourage you to find out what makes it unique from its own baseline capabilities. But from the presentation, what's unique about it is it's the first card to go inside a computer for SDVoE. So Zevia Netgear M4300 card. So what's unique about this product is it's 4 HDMI inputs on a single card slot that goes into the network switch itself. So it gives 4 ports per slot, and once again treats it more like a matrix and allows you to not have to use an external box if you want to put it into the frame. Currently, it is limited exclusively to the Netgear platform, but like I said, it does do something different. It cleans up the system. It's a little bit limited on certain capabilities, but it does give you that matrix feel out of a standards-based system. So it has its applications and its uses, and this is the first of its kind as well, which is why it's up here. So this is another thing, is SDVoE compatible products. So Aurora, our company, we're pleased to announce something new, which is the IP24 PoE+. So one of the problems right now with 10 gig is there's not a lot of PoE switches out there. Netgear does it. Cisco just started doing it. Very expensive. And a lot of models out there just don't have it. So we developed an injector at a very low cost, which will inject 30 watts into 24 ports into any 10 gig device. So this way, assuming it can handle PoE, which our products happen to handle 10 gig PoE, we can now get nice, clean, installs, and it will add the PoE to any Cisco Extreme Networks, any brand switch. It could be 1 gig, 10 gig, doesn't matter. It'll deliver 30 watts of power to any port. And the other one is the Netgear. Reason why they're on this with the compatible products is while they're not doing the actual SDVoE functions, they're an out-of-the-box SDVoE compliant product, and this is just the first of many that are coming down the pipeline. They'll be announcing other products in other form factors that will give you more choices as far as the size of the switches and coming right out of that box to get you going with the SDVoE product lines. I've worked with these guys. Their support's phenomenal. They're right on top of it, and they back their product. So they've done a fantastic job. And so the future with SDVoE. So I can only imagine, and this is some guesses, but and we're hoping they go this way because you can only get so much out of these guys. But you know, as we get into further, you can only imagine the bandwidth's going to go up. That's why they started at 10 gig, because that's where the quality of image goes. But as you get into the 8K and as you get into other things, bandwidth's just going to keep going up in the industry. That's really the bottom line. So with the technology that they've created, it can be adaptable to these other future type of things. Hybrid solutions, that's something Aurora is going to be working on with hybriding technologies together to drop price points and to open up other capabilities. You'll have to wait to see what type of hybrids we come out with, but we promise we'll make it interesting. Flat panel displays. As you saw with the DLP projectors, it's only a matter of time. As these products continue to evolve, you're going to see probably displays coming out with them inside, just like you see with the HD-based You'll see them with SDVoE, except the difference here is they'll matrix into themselves. And you'll have other advanced features like the video wall, the windowing, and so on. Projectors, well, Christie's already doing it, so that's kind of already happening, but you'll see other brands. And media players. Nothing stopping media players from having them embedded into them and becoming part of the system where you plug it in and it distributes itself out. So really what you're seeing here today in this booth is an ecosystem of products that are all working together and creating the beginnings of the standard that works with all 10 gig and interoperable, where they not only just work on a base level, but they can add our own flavor to it to keep that competitive edge and to differentiate ourselves from each other. So anyway, so that is our presentation for today. Thank you for listening to my stuff, and if you have any questions afterwards, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.